We'll wait for some people to get in here. Let's see if we can tweet this.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, guys. Ooh, it's live. There we go. Come on, people.
Someone said they're staying up for this.
Oh.
Crypto Anarcho Hedgehog is staying up for this, supposedly.
No, what did I just do? Oh, he's a friend of mine.
Well, that's at least one. We got one, everybody.
Yeah. My dog is passing gas.
All right, we're not
lovely. Oh my. I'm going to put it on Facebook too. Solo, who's that?
Solo Sokoa is live here with us.
I'm tagging you on Facebook too.
Mark is stateside. Someone's behind the times.
Yes. He's not only stateside, he's in my state.
Someone has not been hearing my updates on my podcast.
Kyle Edwards. What's up, Kyle? That's a firefighter.
All right, I'm gonna tag you on my. I'm gonna do the same thing.
What shall we talk about?
We can't talk about what you're doing, right? Because it's your own show. Is that a campaign conflict of sorts?
No, we can.
You can. Okay.
Yeah.
Vote Buck Johnson, everybody.
There you go.
If you live in Lockhart. Oh, we've tripled our viewership.
Look at that. My goodness, George. We've got a French bulldog in here with some gas. Buck, what is your campaign slogan? I don't have an official one, but we'll say, keep Austin politics out of Lockhart.
I'm a fan of the Buck Stops here myself.
That's a good one, too.
I have not seen that on any official signage.
Not yet. Firefighter Buck Johnson for Lockhart.
Buck off.
I like that. Don't
fuck with Buck.
Don't fuck with Buck. That'll work.
There's a lot you can do with it.
We got to keep it pleasant, you know. All right.
Oh, I heard that, George.
George. All right. Well, there's people joining us slowly but surely. You guys obviously feel free to comment anything you want to do, ask questions or whatnot. For an intro, this is Counterflow Live with Buck Johnson, and I've got my friend Marc Clair here, all the way California, Mexico, Florida, now into Texas. Now, this is not living in Texas, but he's working here this week, and
we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's true.
If
I win,
I could say anytime for any amount of time. So we'll see.
What if I win and I take control of this town? We might need other people.
Then that might influence us even more. I would say.
Mark, I guess for those, there's a few people they're joining us slowly, but this will be on my YouTube stream or my YouTube page for until it gets zapped. Give people an intro. Because this is a newer intro than you would have given a year ago, so it's good.
It is. Well, where to begin, Well, for those of you that didn't know me before, in my previous life, I am the one and only Marc Clair of the Lions of Liberty podcast. That is a podcast I founded with my great friends, who are still my great friends, John Odermatt, Brian McWilliams. And sometime in the last, 3 or 4 months, I made the difficult but necessary decision to leave Lions of Liberty and go in a different direction. So we can decide how much you want to get into that. But that, I think you've talked a lot about your evolving beliefs on your show, and I have as well on mine. But at the end of the day, to me, it's not even necessarily that I decided I disagree with libertarians on things as much as I decided I find different priorities in my life, and I find things that I think are more important than digging into the weeds of libertarian philosophy and libertarian politics every single week. And I did find myself eventually sort of something I don't like to do on anything in life. I found myself kind of phoning it in with Lions of Liberty, where I was doing the interviews I thought I was supposed to do, having the discussions I thought I was supposed to have, asking the questions I thought I was supposed to ask, but not actually feeling that passionate about it. So that's when I kind of knew, like, I have to do something different here. It took me a minute to actually do it, but that's kind of where things moved in the last few months.
Is there a struggle there? Like, I mean, this is by no means putting some kind of importance on us because we have podcasts, but for you, was there a struggle there as a podcast, like a lead guy, as you might say? Sorry, Brian and John, I don't mean that in a derogatory way by any means, but like a lot of people saw Mark as the Lion of Liberty, for better or for worse. Was there a struggle? Like, I've got this built-in audience. I've done this for so long. There's a big audience. I'm well known in this community. If I deviate from the, as our friend Tom Woods might say, allowable opinion, which you did, and I've done too. If you deviate from that, was this fear like, I'm going to lose some people here?
No, but only because I kind of did that. I kind of confronted that head on. I did an episode where it's not my finest work. It's not my proudest moment in podcasting, but it was something necessary where I did just kind of, I think it's called my message to the Mises Caucus. It was basically me responding to people giving me shit on a particular Facebook post in the Mises Caucus group, which was very cathartic for me. It was something, it was me addressing a lot of things I had thought and felt in my mind about how a lot of people were reacting to things in the political world. But it's also not what I wasn't interested in basing my identity around like being anti-Mises Caucus or anti-libertarian party. That's not what my intention was, but there was a time period in there where that started to become what happened. Like, I started to get into it with these people, and it started to become what I was. Oh, I'm the guy who's now getting into it with the Mises Caucus, which is never what I intended, never what I really wanted, especially because many of those people were and are still my friends. So, but I just disagree with the strategy. It just didn't make sense to me, especially in the world of the last couple of years.
Right.
So when I found myself phoning in podcasts that I don't think I was consciously doing it. It's more the kind of thing where afterwards I'm like, I kind of phoned that in.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to wrap that interview as opposed to being so immersed in a conversation like I used to be.
Yeah.
That I can't let go of it. That I gotta find the willpower to end the interview. So, and I found myself doing the exact opposite. So when I started to lose that passion, to me, I had only a couple options. One was to just forget it. Like, I have a lot of things going on. I don't need to be podcasting necessarily. So maybe I just give this thing up, or maybe I just don't do Lions of Liberty or any kind of podcast in that realm anymore. But that didn't quite feel right either, because I am still very passionate about a lot of things. I am still very passionate about people improving their situations, about people understanding the nature of our reality more and navigating that more. So I didn't really want to dip out of it, but I didn't feel like living under that libertarian banner and doing things I felt like I was supposed to do for who I don't even know. I guess my built-in audience are the people that I've known over the years, but I also had the confidence that ultimately the people that really like me for me or understand me for me are gonna follow me no matter what I do. But it was hard because I'm good friends with Brian and John. I've known them long before we became podcasters, long before any of this stuff. So it was a little bit like being in a relationship where you know it's not quite working out anymore. But yeah, you've been there for a while. You're comfortable. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the best part of all of this to me was how incredibly easy John and Brian made this. Because when I finally expressed like what I was feeling and that I felt like I needed to do something different, they couldn't have been more accepting of it because they felt it too. You know, they knew we were kind of going in different directions and what we found to be priorities. And it was actually just like the most amazing thing because they actually very much embraced what I was doing, support what I'm doing. And we kind of all just immediately agreed, yeah, we should go in some different directions. Doesn't mean we're not friends anymore. In fact, it might be better that we're friends without having to think about this thing where we're kind of all involved in are seeing things a little bit different. So yeah, that's why I just kind of pulled the plug on that. Didn't know exactly where I was going to go from there. This was about 3 or 4 months ago. That part of the decision, it wasn't easy to say, but it was easy to make in my mind.
I think a lot of times a three-way relationship seems fun at first, but they don't always last, or it's
There's
always
an analogy
not.
here somewhere.
But we won't get into that. So I think a lot of people do follow you and follow Lions of Liberty, and still do follow Lions of Liberty with Brian and John Odermatt. So just for clarity, there's no contentious feelings. You guys are all cool. You're just doing your own thing.
Absolutely, 100%. And that is no bullshit. That's not like a
Right.
public stance that are like literally. And I can't say I was expecting any different, but I think sometimes we can all have a tendency to build up a worst case scenario in our
Sure.
minds. And I was a little bit, maybe afraid isn't the word, but I was hesitant to. I knew I had to do it, but it took me a minute to be like, because I wanted to make sure I really knew what I was saying, and that I was 100. I wasn't just going through a phase or just having a moment where I wasn't feeling it. But at the end of the day, I had no doubt that I needed to just try something else and do something else. And I think the best part of all of this was how much they supported me. Like I can't emphasize that enough, because they could have made it difficult. They could have been like, "No, come on, what are you doing, man? Why are you turning? What's none of that at all." They were very much embracing of the idea that I needed to do something different. They understood I needed to do something different. They felt that coming. Like anybody who's probably followed me closely probably felt that something along those lines coming. So I can't say enough great things about them, because they just made it all so easy for me.
For guys watching, I know you can see, because I just checked. We're all good, but it's gonna drive me crazy because on the screen with Mark and myself, it's frozen. So let me see if I can fix this real quick. Yeah, the irony in this is that I know y'all can see us fine because I just looked. Let's try this, and then fix it. I bet that fixes it. No, it doesn't. Let's just watch this over here.
Return, yeah. So we know we're good.
Okay, and I think it's human nature for people that follow a group of guys like you, like they followed the Lions of Liberty, to think like, "Ooh, what's the dirt? I know there's got to be something in there somewhere." Did you get people asking you like, "Come on, are you pissed at Odermatt?" Or did you get that at all?
A little bit. I think some people just assumed that, maybe like, "Oh, there was a falling out. What happened?" But I think everything that happened, you all heard on podcasts. If you were following Lions of Liberty, if you're not, no worries. But if you could see that the three of us are going in somewhat different directions, I would say more strategically necessarily than philosophically. I would say I certainly did fall out of the idea of third party politics, of libertarian party politics being an effective means, especially in the context of the last 2 years, where I had my own life very personally affected. I very much chose and made the decision not to comply with the mandate, knowing what the results would be. And it was not a difficult decision for me. And I think one thing I did see in the libertarian movement, which is what kind of rocked me in many ways to my core, is that I saw a lot of people that either caved to mandates very easily, or they struggled with it greatly. And I don't know what it was about me, because I wasn't a very religious person before. I can't even say I specifically am now in the sense that I've fully embraced a specific religious ideology. But there was something in my spirit, something in my soul. There was never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't going to let somebody jab something in my body that I didn't want and pretty much knew wouldn't be good for me to do. It never crossed my mind actually to do that.
Yeah, same.
Even when directly threatened with that, and I did lose a tremendous amount of income, a tremendous amount of I don't know about time, but I think in many ways I gained time actually, because by leaving that job in my particular situation. My wife is from Mexico. I've talked about this on my show, trying to get her son, my stepson, who we all live together now, but we were trying to get his immigration done too. And for a long time, the three of us couldn't be together because he couldn't come stateside.
Right.
She had to always be choosing between who she's spending time with, me or him. So by not giving into that mandate, I was also able to give us the one thing we didn't have before, which was the time. So I got to take that time and take that moment to go spend time with them in the one country we could be in at the time together, which was Mexico, which a lot of people, and I might have countered this argument if this is even the case, but so many people gave me this, "Oh, Mark's running away to Mexico" argument, "Oh, he's hiding from," but none of these people actually knew the reason I was there, which was to be with my family.
Right. Because
I wasn't really talking about that at the time. So that was annoying, but that's also a very small number of people. Most of the people that had followed me over the years and were fans of what I was doing on the podcast that got to know me either they understood the situation specifically, or they understood that I was whatever was going on behind the scenes. They knew I was doing the right thing for me. So for the most part, I think the loud, obnoxious voices are few and far between at the end of the day. They're just the ones you sometimes hear the most. So I did hear them, but so many people, for every loud, obnoxious, maybe a Twitter reply, I had 10 private messages of complete support. So it's been just an awesome experience, actually, just making major life decisions that
Yes.
in no way were easy, but have really found me even better supporters among the people that were among the right people, I should say.
Yeah, I think over the last few years, I don't know if that's a new thing or something I've discovered by pulling away from the popular fashionable opinions or whatever, even within libertarianism to an extent. But when you make these what some would consider ballsy moves of like withdrawing from certain segments of society or with groups or whatever, it's scary, of course, because we all need connection, and you think, oh God, I'm a loser here. And then all of a sudden, these people reach out to you, and they're like, I like you, I support you. It's weird and it's comforting, and maybe it's always been there, but before you make some kind of major change, you wouldn't know that it's been there. So I don't know. I will say, when you need people most, it's interesting to see who shows up.
Yes.
It's not always who you would think. Sometimes it's who you would think should be there. They're not there. And then I was telling my wife, a friend of ours died in 2011. That was one of our best friends. And I thought, I didn't expect to really hear from anyone, but some of the people I heard from, I thought like, wow, you care about me? I wouldn't have thought that, but that's nice. So these kind of like weird life experiences where it seems like it might take some balls to make the move. Sometimes it's worth it, and you kind of see who's left standing, and that's more important than the popularity of the crowd, so to speak.
Absolutely. And I've found just very surprising comments from people, particularly people it's not that I just didn't know they were listening to me, actually, which is really interesting. Like some people from high school that I didn't even like, maybe were Facebook friends, and I had no idea they had found my podcast, or people I followed. Like for a little bit of time, I was involved in some wrestling podcasts, which is how I ended up knowing Academic Agent way before he was Academic Agent. But I actually had some people from that realm that I never knew, but I followed their podcasts in wrestling world. People I followed in the comic book world, in my other really nerdy interests, that later reached out to me when I did the podcast saying I'm leaving Alliance of Liberty, I'm going to do something else. Those people started reaching out to me saying, hey man, I just heard that podcast. I've been following you for years. I had no idea these people were following. Yeah, I was following them for years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you're following me
you
for
like
years.
Me?
Weird.
Yeah, right.
Weird that one of us follow each other. Weird that both of us follow each other. And they were surprised to hear I followed them. That's what's super weird to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even talking about political realms now. I'm talking about seemingly unrelated areas.
Even nerdier.
Yes, much nerdier realms where I found I was getting support from people I was following that I had no idea were following what I was doing, which is really just amazing to me. So it tells me there is maybe something spiritual or something at another level that can connect us even when we're seemingly connecting in unrelated ways.
Yeah, fair. Look, my priest, my spiritual father's in here. Father Ignatius, hello. Someone says here, Corey Durst, this is a good question because this might be on a lot of people's mind. I'm definitely late to the conversation. Haven't heard much from Mark post his Mises rant. What's he doing these days? How can I subscribe to hearing his ideas and ideals? This is why we're doing this.
Well, if I have to go right into promotional mode, I will.
Yes, you can.
I have a lot of things I want to build, a lot of things I want to grow, a really awesome website being one of them, but I also didn't want to let the lack of having that done stop me from doing my next step. So
he wants to know your Grindr
profile. The short version, grindr.com/Marc Clair. Now, the short version is if you go to marcclair.com, that's Mark with a C, M-A-R-C, last name Claire, C-L-A-I-R, M-A-R-C-C-L-A-I-R. I have to spell it because people...
No E.
Exactly. No E. People like to put E's on the end.
I've done it.
They like to make a K in my name. None of that's there. That's where I've linked to every place you can follow me and hear my subscribe to my ideas, I guess you should say. But what is coming, I guess I will just say, is a show that I struggled with for a while coming to exactly what I wanted to call it, because I did have a lot of ideas of what I wanted to do, what I wanted to call my new venture. At the end of the day, it is the Marc Clair Show. Why? Because I can never be boxed in by that at the end of the day.
Right.
I can never be like, oh, can I? No, I can always do whatever I want because it's my fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the show where you're going to hear what the things that I think are important. And maybe those will be more along a certain line now. Maybe in 2 years, there'll be a totally different line of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. At least I don't need to rebrand again because I just did that. And I don't want to do it again. But yes, go to marcclair.com and you'll find links to how you can subscribe to my public feeds, YouTube. I'll be on Rockfin publicly, everywhere you find podcasts, my premium stuff. I have 4 episodes of the Marc Clair Show that exist that people have already heard, already listened to, already gave me comments on, because I already have some premium supporters. So anybody supporting me, Patreon, Subscribestar, I'm on Rockfin. You guys already have those episodes. So if you're not aware of that, especially if you're on Rockfin, if you're already subscribing to someone else over there, like I subscribe to Jay Dyer, Sam Tripoli, Courtney Turner, Charlie Robinson. There's some just great creators on Rockfin. And for just $2 than what you would pay me for my premium content, you get all of their content too. So Rockfin's a great platform that I'm really proud to be on right now. And so I've already launched the show, if you're not aware. So you have the power to, for as little as $8 a month, you can listen to all 4 episodes of the Marc Clair Show that already exist. But the show will be public starting on All Hallows Eve, October 31st.
There you go. It felt
fitting.
All right. We should give a shout out to Mr. Burt Grimm. He did the artwork for your show.
Yes.
And my show.
Is he on this? Is he on?
Right
there he is. Motherfucking Burt.
Mr. Twitter celeb himself, who's kind of, Burt, you've been laying low. But for those watching, he did do the artwork for Counterflow and Mark's new show. I guess a question that's on everyone's mind is, what's the direction you're going in? Where would you say the differences lie between Marc Clair from Lions of Liberty and Marc Clair with the Marc Clair Show? And Burt did and Pete Q's in the house.
Oh no,
man, can we get him on here with us? How would that work? I don't know.
I mean,
Pete, what's up?
I think you could.
Burt did the art for Pete's show too.
Send a link. I don't know how your software works, man.
Oh, we love you, Burt.
Well, Pete, Burt is actually a big part of like something that really, again, so much of this felt spiritual to me because it just felt like once I had this idea, people started coming to me and brought everything together that I had in my mind without me actually trying that fucking hard, which is really a lot of what held me back for a long time. I was like, I got to do a whole new brand. I got to get a new logo. I have to do this and that. But it just came so naturally. It was literally just like the universe, God, whatever you want to say, people sent people to me to do exactly what I had in my mind and exactly what I needed to be done. And it all came together in just an incredible way. So Burt, big fucking part of that. And obviously knowing he did your art, knowing that he did Pete's art, gave me that confidence. But like Burt just like jammed that thing out. Like he was like, I have an idea. I have some ideas what I want to do. You're going to be blown away. And I was like, all right, dude, we'll see. And he's
badass.
It couldn't have been more than 24 hours later when he sent me the rough draft of the logo. And it took like a minute. I was like, I can't just say I like this right now and accept the first draft. And then about an hour later, I was like, no, I can.
Yeah.
This is fucking perfect. This is exactly what I want. Couldn't be more perfect than I imagined because, he had a vision. I kind of described to him where I wanted to go with things, sort of, but I think he took it even further than I had even put out there. So, and that was the same with John Page crafting the music for the show. I couldn't have talked to him for more than maybe a sentence or two that I typed to him on Twitter about where I was going, and he just created exactly what I needed, and it all just came together for me. And at the end of the day, to answer the actual question you asked,
yeah,
is that I just saw, especially of the last 2 years, so much of what's going on in the world is just beyond whether you have the right political philosophy. That's nice in our in-group. Yes. We can prove each other right all day long. But when the last 2 years, has it been 3 now? You can almost say.
I know. We keep expanding
it. 2 years
right.
for so long.
Yeah.
You realize there's just a lot more going on here. There's a lot more at stake. There's a lot more controlling how we believe, how we think. And what I realize is that a lot of our political conversations, they're only on the surface. We're talking about what we're supposed to talk about. We're arguing about what we're supposed to argue about. And I fall victim to this too. We all do. But when we're just in that cycle, then we're helping the system. We're helping the system that wants to keep us arguing, wants to keep us fighting each other about this and that. And I just see that there's a lot more than what's on the surface. There's a lot deeper. There's a lot beneath that surface that often goes discussed in the regular political world. So that's stuff I want to get into, and it's the stuff that I have found interesting for so long. Whether it's what many would call conspiracy, the spiritual world, there's just a lot there that gets brushed aside in the mainstream political discussion. And when I say mainstream, I include the regular libertarian dialogue on social media, because it is all reacting to the messaging that we're getting from that mainstream at the end of the day.
Right.
And there's a reason, if there's a reason we're getting that messaging and there's a reason we're reacting to it, then in some way we are playing into that system, unless we're looking a little bit further, unless we're looking at what's beneath the surface. So that's where I saw was a more important place to focus. And I increasingly felt like I was doing so much, like the Mises Caucus episode that many people like to reference, where I kind of went on a little bit of a rant that I just had to get off my chest. But it also wasn't my finest hour, and I think I'm willing to admit that.
Why wasn't it your finest hour? I actually enjoyed it.
That's actually the people I connect with the most, that I respect their opinions the most, which I would count you among, seem to enjoy it a lot. So,
okay.
But I guess I should say, like, it wasn't the version of me I had portrayed for many years.
Maybe, that's fair. Well, that's why I enjoyed it. Not that I didn't like the old you, but I was like, this is the Mark we know. At least he's
right,
because we were in private chats and everything, and I was like,
in real life,
Mark's letting it fly here.
I guess I was being more of me in many ways.
That's why I liked it,
and not being as held back by who I'm supposed to be allied with, who I've been friends with, who I've been supporting. Because the fact is, dude, I like Michael Heiss a lot.
Yeah.
I don't say that in the past tense. I've met him a number of times. I think he's a great dude. I've met a number of people that are heavily invested in the Mises Caucus in that pathway. My fellow businessmen and friends, Brian and John, are very much invested and agree with that pathway. And I simply was seeing a very different pathway. But none of that means we're not friends. None of that means I didn't like those people. So I found myself in this, what felt like a little bit of a difficult position for me, where do I just stay on this path where I've been friends with all these people and say what I got to say to stay in what I think should be a libertarian podcast realm? Or do I lean into myself and actually embrace myself here?
Yeah.
That was the decision. And it wasn't actually a decision. I knew what I had to do, but it was hard. It did take a minute to confront that. And I think that when I say that wasn't my finest hour, I had a couple drinks. I was pissed off. Right. It was 3 a.m. Granted, I worked until like midnight that night. So it's not like I was drinking since noon until 3. All right. But I had a few. And it's not what I would normally portray on a podcast, but maybe not my finest hour, but also necessary. Sometimes you just need to do something necessary and get some things off your chest to get to a different point. But it wasn't long after that I kind of realized, like, that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be arguing with. I don't want to be arguing with my friends. I don't want to be arguing with social media. I get wrapped up in it like anybody else, but it's not what I want to be doing. So if being involved in that podcast, being involved in the libertarian realm and saying my mind, which isn't something I wanted to stop doing, if that was causing me to have conflicts and to be angry and to be arguing with people, that's not what I should be doing. Instead, I decided, maybe I can actually regroup here. My options are quit podcasting.
Yeah.
And just focus on the million other fucking things I have going on in life, or regroup and focus more on what I think is actually important, focus more on what I think actually matters, and focus more at the end of the day on what I find fucking interesting. Because if I don't find it interesting, you're certainly not going to find me talking about it interesting. So that's where I want to lean into.
I've actually received messages from a person or two here and there. We'll just leave it at that when I knew I was not interested in a particular interview, as it happened, not like I went into it thinking I'm not interested, but there's been a few where I'm like, oof, not into that one. And I've had people write me and go, I could see you weren't into that. And it's like, really? Jeez, then I need to get, but I say I need to get better, but I don't want to fake things.
Sure. Right.
And so I guess you read me correctly. I wasn't interested. So there's topics or people or there's just certain things I stay away from that you live and learn.
Analytics backed me up too.
Yeah, same.
When I would do interviews with like Jay Dyer or Christopher Knowles, digging into some kind of deeper areas that I didn't get into on the regular show, not only would I be more inspired about the episode itself and enjoy the conversation more, the numbers spiked too.
Correct.
And sure, part of that is because they have followings, and so I know that's definitely a factor. But look, I mean, when all of those signs are showing me when you do this one thing, you're happier. Other people are tuning in more.
Yeah.
You're less stressed. You feel good after it. And you do these other things and you feel like you're phoning it in. And I did a couple political interviews, like towards the end of my run. I'm not going to name names because it's not about them. It was about what I was going through. It was about the loss of interest I had in politics.
It's not you, it's me.
It's the ultimate is not you, it's me. But it's the case because I did a number of political interviews that I felt I was doing a disservice to my guests actually too, because I felt if I'm not invested in this, I'm not doing you the right service. Like you should be on a platform where someone is just stoked about what's going on here. And it's not that I was against what they're doing because I like all these people and I had them all on my show and I enjoy the conversations with them and I still am friends with all of them, but it's not what I was passionate about. And that's what was important at the end of the day. And I knew that I wasn't aligning myself with what I really wanted to be doing. And at the end of the day, two options: phone it in and just that's going to end eventually, one way or another. Yeah. Or just accept that I've come to a different point in life and that I've prioritized things different and lean all the way into that. So
yeah, it's not like you or I are making a ton of. We're not being rich. We're not becoming rich off podcasting. So if you want to pay me, millions and millions of dollars, maybe I can fake my way.
I might consider selling out that.
I'm a musician, and people used to say, what would you, I hate modern country, and now this isn't modern anymore, but they'd say, what if Garth Brooks offered you a tour playing drums? I think I could do it. I could stomach him. If he's going to pay me $5 million, I can do it.
Sure.
But when you're getting paid what you're getting paid and I'm getting paid from podcasting, there's no point in faking it. And I say that in jest. I'm not one to fake stuff through anyway. But speaking of my podcast, Chris Williams, my producer, is in the house. The best production in all of podcasting. Mark, focusing on what's important. Have you been studying the Bible? Chris, look at you. My priest is in this room, and he didn't even ask this yet. Are you now in the Eastern Orthodox pipeline? First, Chris, I should ask, are you in that pipeline?
Well, it depends on how we define pipeline. I have someone, so I guess I'll just go into my religious background a little bit.
Sure.
I would describe, I was raised Jewish, but I would...
Get out. Sorry, the stream is ending. What? Prank call.
But I will say, I don't know, I don't want to disrespect my parents when I say this. I feel like I was raised in a Jewish household, but it was a Reformed Jewish household. And Reformed Judaism, at least to me now, is how I see this it kind of is like Jews who don't really mean it, but want to go do it.
Okay.
I don't mean that disrespectfully, but I think as a child, as a teenager even, that's how I started to see it. I started to see it as we go to this service sometimes, but is this really translating? Do we really believe this? Really? And I've told this story before, so I'm not afraid to touch on it again, but Yom Kippur every year is when Jews fast for a day to sort of, repent for their sins.
For a day?
We don't call it a day.
Oh my God.
I know, right? These guys get their 3-day fasts here. I get it.
We have 3-week fasts.
But 3 weeks, wow. So now I'm not that far in the pipeline in that case. But I think at that time, I remember specifically a day during Yom Kippur that we all went to services. And part of Yom Kippur, fasting is, kids are allowed to eat, because they're kids. So you can feed the kids. It's okay.
Fair.
So my parents stopped at McDonald's for me, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was eating my McDonald's in the back seat, and my dad left the car for something. I don't remember what. My mom was like, let me have one of your fries?" And I was like, in my mind, I was like,
"You can't do that."
No, you can't do that. It's Yom Kippur. She's like, "Just one, it's fine." And then there's something
for her. It was Yom Kippur.
Yummy Kippur. But I think there's a reason I remember the story all the time. Is because in the back of my mind, that's when I realized, oh, you don't really believe this. Maybe you do nominally.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you actively even disbelieve it, but you don't, at your core, really believe it.
Yeah.
Because if you really believed it, you wouldn't give up the idea of washing away all your sins for one fry.
Mm-hmm.
You would never do that. That's fucking insane. Mom, I love you. But I think that was when I first kind of got it. I would never say I called myself an atheist, but it's when I started to get sort of I don't know if people believe this that are doing it. Yeah. So I kind of walked away a little bit starting sometime in my early teens at that point. And then I don't think I ever went to spaghetti monster annoying atheist type, but I definitely would have called myself agnostic. I don't know. And I still, I guess in some ways I would still say that to an extent. I'd say I'm a lot more. I hate spiritual, not religious. It's very cringe, so I'm not going to use that phrase. But
Thank
in
you.
a way, I mean, look, I have a lot more respect for religion, a lot more respect for the concept of spirituality, a lot more respect for understanding something beyond the material. So, and the fact is, I haven't come to a conclusion that I know this particular pathway is the exact right truth to the letter of the word. So for that reason, yeah, I don't say like I am now this, I am now that.
I know you've read this book.
I have read that book.
Aha.
So I've been imbued with some of the propaganda.
I'm working on them, you guys.
I will actually like address the Eastern Orthodox pipeline question directly, because the one thing I will say for sure, I have found myself in brotherhood, in spiritual brotherhood in a sense, and I found something very interesting that many of the people that I happen to connect with the most, for not necessarily religious reasons, I later find out either already are Eastern Orthodox or are on that pathway themselves. And I do find an interesting connection there. So I will say, like, people that didn't close their churches or refused to have masks in their church, just so happen many times to be Orthodox.
Yeah, and our communion is with a shared spoon.
For real?
Yeah.
Interesting. Wait, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's cool.
Yeah.
See, I learn new things every day.
You cannot get a virus from.
Oh wow, that's actually really
from doing communion.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I found in many ways that spirit matching.
That's scientifically proven.
That's a fact
for you academics out there.
I found that spirit very similar to the spirit that I had. That I don't know why necessarily, but I've been talking about libertarianism and my bodily autonomy for 10 years, so I'm not about to violate it at the first little sign of trouble, which I was certainly faced with a very big mandate hanging over my head that I really didn't hesitate at all to rebuff. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And frankly, I'm still struggling from the results of that decision. It has not been an easy one to deal with in the material realm, but it's been a very easy one to deal with in the spiritual sense, because I'm not going to be somebody that's been yelling for 10 years about these libertarian concepts of bodily autonomy, and then the second someone threatens not even my life, just my ability to travel or my income, then sure, forget what I just said. I couldn't do that. I couldn't, and I have seen a certain camaraderie in many people of the Orthodox persuasion that share that similar spirit.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence. So it has interested me in Orthodoxy a bit and in Christianity in general. But I'm not going to come here and say I'm now an Orthodox Christian. I can't even say I'm a Christian per se. I can just say I found a lot of value in what I've done and a lot of the writings I've read. I've read a lot of Seraphim Rose, and there's a lot of resonation there. But I'm also someone who's also very skeptical generally. I really need to be convinced of something to really buy it. And I'm not saying I haven't been convinced, but I guess I am saying I haven't been convinced.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
Not in a
Yeah.
negative way, more
Right.
just in the I'm interested and want to learn more.
The not
but
yet way.
I can't commit to this as what I am, as
Right.
an identity, which maybe I never will commit to a religion as an identity, and I'm not sure I need to or not. I'm not sure, to be honest. But I can definitely say I view religion in general, and particularly the people I have at least encountered that are of the Orthodox persuasion, I view them differently than a couple years ago, for sure.
Yeah, same. Well, I didn't know of them a couple of years ago, so I certainly view them different. Let's see. I want to give a shout out. Yes, well, Pete is correct. Most people are cowards and unwilling to change. Pete's always correct. Pete, are you coming back? I saw you pop up a while ago and looked like you had video troubles, but come on back. We'll get you on here. And Chris, my producer, is my man. I love it.
See, Chris isn't even in the pipeline.
But he's reading.
I might even be in the pipeline.
He's looking into EO theology and more deeply. And I will say, it's not fair. There's this weird stigma where Orthodox types kind of dig at Protestants, and I've seen it a little bit online. Chris is one of the most knowledgeable Christians I've ever encountered, and so he's very familiar with everything he's into, and so there's no knock at all there. I will say, Mackenzie, glad to see you on here. I love this. I can't look into Orthodoxy because I'm Lutheran, and I know I'll just end up Orthodox. You're smart, Mackenzie. You're probably very correct. Catholics too. And Mackenzie said something. Let's get back to it. She spoke something highly of you earlier. I think a lot of people who fall away from. Hold on. It was about Mark specifically. I respect Mark a lot for not continuing on, just continuing on. I think many people are terminally online. That's for damn sure. Uh-huh. And would have continued on for the sake of some sort of fame in niche internet circles. Boy, have I seen that. Church of the Eternal Logos that's is with awesome. Us too. David Patrick Harris.
Oh, excellent.
Yes. This man might want you on his new show.
We've emailed. I plan to circle back to have him on. We have had we have had discussions.
The Church of the Eternal Logos is one of. There's a handful of sites and not Patreons, but people that I give money to, and that's one of them because what he's doing is extremely important and brilliant and well researched. And speaking of brilliant and well researched, we got.
Speaking of white nationalism,
Pete Quinones.
Oh, hi.
Let me unplug my headphones. Hold on.
Did someone say well researched?
How do I do
Did
this?
someone say well researched?
Yeah.
I can hear him.
Pete, you look well something right now.
Can we share your headphones?
We can't share the.
Yeah. It's late at night for me, and I'm relaxed. It's late at night for me, and I'm relaxed.
You're relaxed. You look like it. You've become Asian. I appreciate it.
Got Fu Manchu over here.
How are you,
hold on, Pete.
doing?
Let me fix my audio. I've got you.
How are you, gentlemen, doing?
I've got you running through my headphones. Hold on. Audio input, but where the heck's the output? Let's see.
Advanced options.
Is this going to mess us up, Mark? If I
hope not.
Noise cancellation.
I can kind of hear him through the headphones.
Are you okay with that?
Look, it's a live stream, you know.
Actually, here I'll kick it up all the way. There we go.
Yeah,
Pete, how you doing, buddy?
Let me get a headpiece because.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we can go back to James Shearer. Atheist Jews are how horror stories start.
Who's saying that? Atheist Jews are how. Okay, fair enough.
And that's absolutely true. And my life could have been easily a horror story.
Mark Metz is asking, Buck, if you were forced to get rid of either the C in your name or the K in your name, which would you choose? Funny you ask that, not only because it's a crazy question and you're Mark Metz, but someone just recently at my church was writing me, calling me Buck with B-U-C-C. He's way younger than me, and he says it's more based. So I'll get rid of the K and put in a C, so it'll be B-U-C-C. How's that?
All right, we got Pete back.
Pete, what are you doing?
I'm very jealous of Pete right now. I'm in Texas. We can't do that here.
What's going on? What's going on?
Pete, are you hanging out with Be Real or something?
Hanging out with myself. Hanging out with myself.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Quinones has joined us from the Pete Quinones Show, Getting Libertarianism, or excuse me, scratch that, Getting Liberty Right. Sorry, Pete, Getting Liberty Right.
I actually applied that to you. So, you know.
What's that?
I applied Getting Liberty Right. I applied Getting Liberty Right to.
I know, and your ads, I love it. Yeah. Well, I hope it works. Yeah.
I was like, dude, if Pete Quinones can name a show after himself, I can too. That was basically how I came to it.
Pete, what's going on down in besides the obvious? What's going on? Man, your fans, if they can see this, they're going to be all up on this. What's going on down in Alabama? How's it going down there?
Is Jeff Dice at your house?
Jeff has been in the Czech Republic that bad.
Is Lou Rockwell with you?
I'm going to get out of Auburn as soon as possible. Yeah. It's too big city for me. It's too big city for me.
Auburn is?
Yeah, it's just gotten. I don't want to live in a town with 76,000 people.
Holy shit, that is bigger than I thought. We got 14,000 here.
My little town outside of Tampa is about 100,000. I was like, oh, I'm moving to a small town.
Wow.
It is a small town compared to 14
The
million
town,
too, so it's a baby.
the town,
I'm already
the
ready.
town I'm looking at is about 3,500
people.
3,500 people.
Oh, that's good. You can run for city council there, Pete.
Oh, I was talking about running for sheriff.
Oh shit, that'd be really good.
Sheriff Quinones has a little bit of a ring to it.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
It's funny because my girlfriend said no way that she is going to be living with Popo.
She would be. But you can reverse roles and let her play it at some point.
This looks like a pretty cool Popo to me.
I know. Yeah.
If this is the Popo, I'm feeling all right.
Yeah. Is that a portrait of the Joker behind you?
Yes. Yeah. Let's see.
Nice.
We have. There's one Harley, and there's another Joker there. I only have DC in this house. Can't hear you guys now. Hold on. There we go.
Can you hear me?
I'm back. Having trouble hearing you.
This. I'm a pro, guys. This. Just lost Pete. Is that how you kick him? Oh, no. Oh, now God. I think this should work. Let's bring Pete back in. Pete, can you hear us? What in the world? Hold on.
You guys are doing the robot. Hold on.
Well, that's really what happens when you don't usually do this. Audio. Through here. Speak right here, mic here. That's what I'm trying to work with. Can you guys hear us? Give us a little. Let's get Pete back in here. That's not right. Pete, can you hear us?
There's something going on with the connection. I'll talk to you guys. Thanks for doing this and good luck.
About this point, people. What the heck? We were
just hitting our stride.
Oh hell! You guys are using alien voices to sound that bad, even right now. Trying a few different settings, but thank you guys for playing along and hanging with us as a dedicated audience. Shut your mouth and do. Hey, Mark, how's this sound? Yeehaw, you sound serious. Someone serious to us. Plug it in better. That's what she said.
This is why they're called live streams, folks.
It is.
Like drunk robots. That's just how it is.
Good.
Boom.
This should be good.
This should be good.
Boomer alert. Oh, fuck. Matt, you're here too? You can come on with us. How does this...
Every time we try to add someone...
I know, I might add you and then we sound goofy.
I think the main issue is that we're trying to hear a third person and then...
There we go. Is this better, Magoo? Damn. That sounds good now. Everyone's saying good. Shot. Well.
So did we get that? Oh, that is a real super chat. I thought he would just type super chat. He actually super chat. He actually paid you $1.99 to say boomer alert.
I got super chats?
Do we split that money? How's that work? Is that your first super chat?
Niggas be like, abolish the FBI and can't even use Skype. Fair point, Bert. Fair point.
Meme it.
That is a meme. I'm walking my dog.
I assume we're good now because people seem to stop complaining.
Yeah. Man, that's my first super chat ever. I'm such a bad salesman.
You didn't even know.
I didn't know I had it. I think I knew at some point.
Lions Liberty, we specifically could not super chat because we were like shadow banned and demonetized.
Oh, based.
So, new YouTube channel. It's going to take me a minute to get demonetized, so get on now while you can.
All right. You guys ask questions if you want to. I have questions for Mark, but I don't want to just push myself upon y'all. That's so live and let live of me. If you guys got questions for me or Mark, you're welcome to answer. Now, I miss Pete already. I wish we could have done that, but I think there's some kind of...
That was the most stoned Pete I've ever seen.
Me too.
It was glorious.
I loved it. YouTube takes 40% off of it. Cool.
I hope it's not really 40%.
YouTube taxation is theft. Am I right?
Private company bros are theft.
Yeah. I'll ask this, Mark. Maybe people are wondering, can we get a list of some guests that are lined up already?
You can, actually. You can get it. Well, I can give you my first...
Yeah, well, what do you want to do?
4 episodes exist, so I can give you those 4, which I also talk about in my episode 0 episode, which is available right now for Patreon supporters, Subscribe Star supporters, Rockfin Premium subscribers. They can all hear my episode 0 and my first 4 interviews. But for the normies out there, the public cheapos, my first 4 episodes are I think, going to really highlight a lot of the directions I'm going and a lot of the things I think are more important. And then we're going to see where we go from there, because I'm sure I will find my own passion and what I enjoy talking about more than not. But I'm going to give you a preview of a few of the first episodes, and maybe I'll talk about a few of the people that I actually have booked beyond that. But one of them is Tony Merkel. He is the host of the Confessionals podcast, and that is a show where he brings on guests who talk about experiences they've had, paranormal experiences, experiences with UFOs, Bigfoots, ghosts, demons, things of that nature. And I think one thing you're going to find remains a theme throughout all my episodes, regardless of what the tertiary or what the sort of surface level topic is that I can say this across every episode I've done, we really do get into the connection to the spiritual in every case. And that was definitely a big part of my interview with Tony Merkel. He's definitely has his own religious beliefs. He's a Christian, and I really found the most interesting part to me is digging into how he reconciles his Christian beliefs with stories of demon. I mean, obviously demons reconciles quite well, actually, but UFOs, Bigfoot, this sort of thing. But my second one of my other guests is a guy who I just found on Twitter, named Skylar Swall, who I just found a lot of his tweets resonating with me. And he is someone who I think we've both been through, I think, a lot of what he's been through. He lived kind of a degenerate 20s, promiscuous, using drugs. I'm not saying I or Buck have done any of this stuff, but we may have dabbled. And but he really turned his life around, found kind of spirituality, and trained himself to participate in a kickboxing fight, going from a total degenerate to that. Found a wife, got married, really turned his life around completely in like a 3 or 4 year span. And I found his story really inspiring. Also, a mutual guest of yours, Charlie Robinson, is on. He came on, and we do a big deep dive on the concept of false flags. Because I feel like so often in the political world, especially in the libertarian world, we're talking about this latest event that happened as if it's just what was reported.
Right.
Not actually talking about, is this a designed event? Is this being purported to us for a certain reason? And that's something I think Charlie is really, really good on. He really does his research. He's not bombastic. He's just very, very precise on this stuff. So we did a deep dive on that. I also had a good friend of mine who I've gotten to know over the last few years, Lance Psycho. We got to know each other, much like with you, through the sort of the libertarian world. But he really has a lot of value to impart on his entrepreneurial journey, kind of how he got where he is in life. And we also took a page out of the Greg Carlwood playbook here. All of my interviews are about an hour long or so, but then I have a longer extended version.
Oh, you're doing
for
that
the premium listeners. Yes,
very nice. That's smart.
So with him, we got into a lot more of the spiritual issues in sort of the bonus show with them. So you're going to get a pretty interesting hour-long episode out of all of my guests, but when we get into the bonus show, you're going to get into maybe even perhaps stranger and more interesting subjects. So that's my little teaser.
Would you like to read Bert's comment?
I've always loved to read Bert's comments.
Out loud?
Let me preview it first. Yeah, I will read it. My top 3 guests you need to get are Guy Selling Book you haven't read. Got him already. Generic export star turned Zyocon boomer, and Clint from Liberty Lockdown. I've got them all lined up, Bert, so don't worry.
Fair enough. Bert, you need artwork for all of those guests.
Yeah, if you get me the artwork, I'll book them.
There you go.
That seems fair to me.
Yes. Bert. What else do we have?
I would actually... I have other people booked that your audience might know and might find interesting, so I'm not afraid to talk about them. I do have some guests. I don't want to get Rob Schneider. That's what we joke about how
Brian.
My good friend Brian promoted an interview with Rob Schneider. That was agreed to by Rob Schneider, by the way.
Yeah.
Actual Rob Schneider who actually flaked. But I don't want that to happen to me. So I have really someone huge, actually 2 people pretty fucking huge that I'm really excited about that I'm not going to tell you about because I want to make sure it happens before I do.
You haven't even told me this then.
I know. We'll do this off air.
Okay.
But I do have a couple lined up I can talk to you about.
One is me.
One is Buck. Well, I would definitely be having Buck on.
Kidding.
One will be Buck, but that's not who I'm talking about right now. But I am going to have on Father Turbo Qualls, who you've had on before.
Yeah, twice.
I also, we haven't nailed up a date. I'm looking forward to talking to David Patrick.
Yes.
Of Church of the Eternal Logos. So
yes.
We did an email. I have to follow up. I want to have him on.
Yes.
Because all that does tie into my interest in not necessarily orthodoxy, but look, the guys that I saw doing the things that I was doing and holding strong are those guys. So I have taken interest in their path.
Yeah.
Especially with Father Qualls, just knowing where he came from.
Yeah.
Being so different than where he turned out now. I find that very interesting. I think a big theme for me is transformation and people that have taken themselves from one place to another. So his story is very interesting to me. And I'm also going to have an interesting discussion with Cyprian Vinarmani, who you've had on a couple times. I've had on a couple times. We're not going to be talking about what you think we might be talking about. Which is, his spiritual pathway. Maybe we'll touch on that, possibly, but that's not why I'm having him on. I'm actually having him on to do a breakdown, a deep breakdown of the Vegas shooting, which is one of those conspiracies that it's very unique in the sense that there's not a strong narrative attached to it. Usually with events like this, there is. There's obviously a purpose, whether it's gun control, whether it's making MAGA people look horrible, whatever it might be. There's always a purpose, and it's hard to pinpoint with the Vegas shooting. It was kind of brushed under the rug. And Vin actually did a video about this about 5 years ago, before a lot of this stuff, before he was talking about a lot of stuff he's talking about now. And I went back and watched that, and it's the best and most interesting explanation for that event that I've ever seen in my life. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I'm confident to promote that because I've talked to Cyprian a few times. I know he's going to show up. So, So I'm happy to promote that one. But yeah, that's going to be a straight up. I say conspiracy, but to me it's not conspiracy. It's reality. We're going to try.
The conspiracy is what we know. Sure. Like, hey, he was crazy, had a bunch of guns, and they shot him.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
okay.
I know what Vin's take is, and I think it's really intriguing. But I can promise you, unless you literally watched his video that he did, which you can go find, you've not heard this before. You've not heard this take on it before. So I want to dig into things that I just find fascinating, and that's one thing that's been on my mind for years. So when I came across his breakdown of it, I said, I don't know if this is the truth, but boy, does it resonate with me. Boy, isn't it fascinating? So you're gonna find out about that from me. You can find out about it from him too. You can go dig around the internet like I did to find his nearly 3 hour video on the subject. But we're at the end of the day, the Marc Clair Show. The reason it's called the Marc Clair Show and not the whatever, is so I can just make it whatever I want at the end of the day. So that's, if you've been invested in me, if you've enjoyed, I am planning to get Jim Brewer if I can find a way to do it. Yes, I will try. But he's not one of the ones that I am coyly not mentioning, Magoo. So
fair enough.
But he is someone on my mind for sure.
Let's see, where else can we go with this? Do you have there's going to be people and not me, so I'm asking this for other people because I get asked this. you came from a political podcasting background. Would you have a label for your politics right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't want to say no. No, I'll say no.
Okay.
But
I say no.
Yeah, I'll say no. But I mean, if pressed I would certainly say I'm more right wing than left wing. So, like, if pressed
Fair.
into an area, I'm going to tell you what area that is.
Fair.
Absolutely.
I would assume everyone in this group chat.
Absolutely. But I mean, I don't think I ever want to have an ism anymore.
Yeah, right.
Libertarianism put it in a box, so I don't want to add an ism to my repertoire now. Yeah. I want to be outside of an ism. I'm going to say what I think. I'll say my opinions. While I'm not doing political podcasting per se, it doesn't mean it'll never come up. It doesn't mean I'm going to ban myself from talking about it. It doesn't mean I won't comment on politics on Twitter, on my Substack, on wherever else I talk about things. So I guess you just have to stay tuned to see what I think about this stuff.
I want to ask normal stuff now.
Boring. You mean so wrestling?
Mm-hmm. We won't bore them with that, but we've been going for an hour, so we'll kind of start to cut it quickly here, so we can at least chat offline and drink.
Saudi Royal, yeah. I'm going to have the whole Saudi Royal family on.
Whatever Kanye West believes. I thought of a funny meme something the other day. My politics are this, and they always had the picture like Seraphim Rose and Kanye West. Forgive me for even making that joke. It's not right, but it seemed amusing at the time. What do you do for fun? Like, what's life like now? You went from California to Mexico. Not completely different, I would imagine. Really, I lived in California too. There's some cultural crossover. You can answer that. I'm not trying to like paint this in my own perspective, but then to Florida, where DeSantis is king. What's life like for you? What's fun? What's different? What are you experiencing now?
This might be a little cheesy.
No, go ahead. Talk about your love and your family and life.
Being with my family.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Being with my wife is fucking awesome. It's fun as fuck.
Mm-hmm.
It's like incredibly fun. And for me, it's like for a long time, people don't really know the whole thing. Like for a long time, since I formed my family, it took 2 years to be with my family. Because I married someone from Mexico.
Right.
So we had a lot of immigration things to deal with. She has a son. We had to go through a lot to get full control sounds so totalitarian custody of him, to have him with us, which we all wanted. That was a long process. And for a long time, my wife was choosing with being me in the U.S. or being with her son in Mexico. And a lot of people, I think I mentioned this earlier, like, no, I should say a lot. Some people gave me shit. Like, oh, this guy's First of all, I think it's totally legitimate to go to another country to pursue another life anyway.
Right.
But that's actually not what I was doing in this case. I was actually
and so much. Let me speak on that. I saw people give you shit for that. I saw people give Vin some shit for that.
Who's still in the United States, by the way.
But like, I can promise you, like, and I did not give anyone shit for this because I respect if your financial situation, you got to live where you got to live, whatever. If I had lived in California or New York or New Jersey or anywhere like that, I would have left. So I would not give anyone shit for leaving a less free place to go to a more free place. You're not running.
It's like making fun of like a Jewish family who moved to New York City in the 1930s because they saw the writing on the wall. What fucking losers! You guys ran away.
Yeah,
you fucking idiots.
So
come on.
Yeah, and this is not a knock on those who stayed in California or stayed in New York, but it's not from me. I would not have done that. I'm not putting up. We had 6 weeks lockdown in Texas, and that was enough. That's 6 weeks too many. So anyway, just to go let you. Just a quick rant. The running away from authoritarianism, like, what are you gonna do? Fight them? Look what happened on January 6th.
Yeah, but like being with my family has been awesome. But like, I think for me, a big part of that is not just being with them, because I was with them in Mexico for 9 months before we came back. Being with them without worrying about paperwork and immigration. It sucks, man. It fucking sucks. And it takes a long time. And we did everything right and had everything right. I can't imagine if you didn't. I mean, it was not an easy process, and it sucked. But to have that not hanging over us anymore, have them physically all here, all together, is just it's a whole new thing for all of us, really. And it's nice to have burden away. Like we can actually just focus on creating a new life from scratch, essentially, literally from scratch. We came to Florida with two suitcases each.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've been building from nothing, and like for anybody that says like, or I want to be sympathetic, like if you were in a position where you thought you had to give into a mandate, because you weren't gonna be able to put food on the table or what have you. Look, I was facing not only my own situation, I was facing potentially my immigration situation for my family getting screwed up if I screwed up my financial situation. But at the same time, what would be worse to me would be setting an example that what you do when faced with someone threatening you and threatening your bodily autonomy, what you do is give in.
Right.
And I might have done differently 10 years ago. I'm not sure, when it was just me, and that's the only one I was thinking about, and my material situation. Maybe I just would have said, fuck it, stab me, who cares?
Right.
To me, it was even less about my own bodily autonomy and more about the example I'm going to set to a teenager, the example I'm going to set to my wife. I'm going to show them that I'm such a weak little bitch that I'm going to give into the first little traction I get. I know people that didn't even try to it's not like they got pushed against the wall. They said, oh, gimme, so I don't even have this social friction at all.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm not willing to set that example for my family, my friends, the people that have followed me in podcasting for 9 years.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to be someone who says one thing and does another. No, I'm not going to do that. It hurt me financially in the short term. It's made my life more difficult in the short term, but I couldn't feel better about it.
So you grew spiritually, mentally,
physically,
all the stuff
too,
that, yeah,
I like to think.
all this. Yeah, look at this guy. All the stuff that counts, though, outside of social status, financial status to an extent. That's tough.
Yeah. And none of it's been easy. I'm not making the argument it's easier to take this path.
No.
Although I will actually.
We can get into spirituality in that sense. The narrow path is not easy. You get spears from all sides. Let's talk about real quick, and we don't have to get too personal here, but our friend Anthony, I can say his name, Raimondo. Anthony, if you watch this, I know you listen to my audio stuff. I don't know if you watch the video stuff, but we love you. 49 Acres of Freedom. You're not always known as the friendliest personality on Twitter. I think you are to me personally, and I know you are to Mark. I'll let you explain this. Whatever you want to say. I don't want to get too personal to business or legal or whatever.
Yeah, I can handle this one. Well, I've discussed before, and I'm not going to get into the details for a lot of reasons. I'm not able to. But the details don't matter because I've already said what happened, essentially. You guys know what happened, essentially. But when I was in the throes of that situation, I heard someone who's become a good friend of mine since then, Anthony Raimondo, on your show, Buck.
Yeah.
And he actually said, if anyone's having, issues with a vaccine-related issue in California, reach out to me. And I didn't hesitate. I think I already kind of knew who he was on Twitter, so I reached out to him, and we had a call, and details, but let's just say he helped me out a lot. And I happen to know he has helped out a lot of people that you'll never hear about.
Yeah.
People that are also fucking heroes. People that also, not ideologically, not even for health reasons necessarily, but maybe some, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
And he's helping a lot of them.
For free.
Not for free, I should say.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
For free.
So,
there's a lot of people that get into jabs back and forth with Anthony on Twitter.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no jabs. Good one. But I can promise you one thing he's doing is heroic work for free for many people, and he is making a massive difference. He's letting people keep their jobs. He's not letting them. He's helping them keep their jobs. He's getting them back pay. And that's a whole lot more things than people who are in a political party. And I'm not knocking on third parties. I mean, any political party. That's more than those people are doing quite often.
And besides that, those people that took a short-term hit, that did do the more difficult thing, they're vindicated.
Yes. Because
guess what? The people that are getting back pay or what have you,
they're
still getting the same pay at the end of the day.
Yeah.
That you cowards, and I'm calling you cowards if you're just someone who did this without hesitation because you didn't want to face the consequences, the social consequences, the financial consequences I'm sorry. That's the word for it.
Yeah.
Is coward.
Yeah.
That's the word. So you cowards are now going to be in the same exact position they're in because except you have put something into your body that you supposedly didn't want to do, and that's now harming you. Almost definitely.
As Magoo says, hey man, that blood ain't gonna clot itself. What's up, Jason Rink? Good to see you, buddy.
Jason Rink, a true king, one of my first 8 Patreon supporters.
Really?
Yes, along with Peter, who was on earlier. Mr.
Yes,
Quinones.
Mr. Quinones.
So
Jason, good to see you.
People that gave me money before I had a second of content. I mean, that's like, I can't thank those people enough. That was like, okay, if I have this many people supporting me before I've done anything, I feel pretty good about where I'm going. Unless they hear me and they go, what was I doing? No.
Yeah. Fast forward to a month and Jason's like, pull. KT Aggie says, Mark, what is the most important issue that should be addressed first among right-wing dissidents? Left-wing culture dominance, COVID lies, Ukraine war machine, or secession?
Do I have to choose one of those?
And then it says, as far as public messaging and talking with other neutral people who could be open to liberty, we'll keep that second. I would answer the first one. I'll let you answer it too. What is the most important issue that should be addressed first among right-wing dissidents, left-wing culture dominance, COVID lies, Ukraine war machine? I would say that's all the same thing.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, if we're talking about political issues, I guess it is sort of the same thing, like left-wing culture dominance, and is sort of the idea of, I think, libertarians in particular, and this might not apply to all right-wing dissidents, so to speak, they don't want to they don't want to take over the culture and take control of the levers and put their culture out there. And I don't know if libertarians should do that necessarily or can be effective at that, but I mean, the existence of that fact does need to be addressed, I think. I mean, in some way. The fact that I think that so many people live their reality through what they see as the base reality, but the base reality they live in is actually the left-wing culture dominance that has pushed that reality upon them. And so many of your normie friends, what they think is baseline reality is what you see as left-wing cultural dominance. Mm-hmm. So that is something to address in the political. I don't know how, I can't really say I know how to address it. What I think everyone needs to address in their own way is how to shield yourself and your family from that, maybe. How to put yourself in a better spiritual place, because I don't know how much you can really control that necessarily.
Right.
So while there's things I think we can point out that are problems, I think we have a lot more chance of affecting your own life than you do actually affecting those problems. So maybe that's not the most exciting answer, but I think it is the most effective one, is to change your own situation.
It's a good question. My thoughts, I agree with Mark, obviously helping yourselves first and foremost on a lot of these things in your family and small communities. But I think you can start with COVID lies, because even kind of boomer cons are red pilled on that sort of thing at this point. You can move from COVID lies to now cultural left-wing cultural dominance. I just spoke with a gentleman, Republican here in town in Lockhart, that's probably 70, and he put up my city council sign in this yard and was talking. Very sweet guy. And he's after a few minutes of chit-chatting, talking about my fire department career. He was an ex-cop, retired. He said, hey, do me one favor. If you win, I don't think I'm going to. It's going to be tough. But here's what he said. If you win, stop this drag queen story hour with our kids and libraries and this trans movement in the schools. It makes me sick. And that was so genuine. And I agree with him, of course. So I think the COVID lies, most people understand at this point, can move into left-wing cultural dominance. The Ukraine war machine is a bit tougher. I think, unfortunately, the default setting of most Americans is that we're kind of numb to war discussion.
And the default is also Russia bad.
And Russia bad.
It's still in the cultural zeitgeist.
Yep. That's going to be less of a thing at this point, unless you're talking, I would say, in my opinion, inflation and how much money we're giving Ukraine, because you can make some headway in that area. The actual stuff about the Ukraine war machine and NATO, if you can relate it to what the Biden family's done as far as money laundering, I think that's one possibility. But having said all of that, the COVID lies, left-wing cultural dominance is much easier to make headway, in my personal opinion. As far as public messaging and talking with other neutral people who could be open to liberty, well, go ahead.
As far as public messaging and talking to other people, I guess that maybe that's one of my bigger shifts is that,
fair enough. That's a good answer.
Open to liberty is actually kind of a different question than open to libertarianism. So maybe I shouldn't conflate those things, because I think, like, for one example, a friend my wife made in the area that we live in, they moved to Florida. Her and her husband, who actually moved to Florida from Texas, interestingly enough, not for the same reasons as
me. That bad?
Not for the same reasons as me, and I don't know the details of all the laws, but one of the reasons was the vaccine laws for school. And I guess they could get better because she doesn't vaccinate her children, and I guess that's more difficult in Texas to get around than Florida. I don't know the details. I just know that's the reasoning that they gave. So I'm not making really any argument there. I'm just saying that's the reason they gave. So maybe there are... But to me, that is liberty. That's liberty for their family and the way they want to do things. And so I think you can connect to people on those levels. And while we never got into politics, we both understood that we came here for greater liberty, even if it wasn't the same reason, and it was never philosophical. It was what's best for our families. So I think on that level, you can connect with people for sure. Well, but if you're trying to sell them an ideology, it's a lot steeper climb. So I don't know if I would go that route. I would not.
I totally agree with that. And maybe the running for office in a small town where it's there's politics involved here, because you see Beto signs and Abbott signs, but on the city level itself, it's almost apolitical. It's like, should this bond be passed, or should this road be lengthened or something? Right. It's almost
like what's good for our community. It's
right.
How does this filter through our
So ideology? If someone came up to me and was like, man, I'm just looking for any kind of insinuated, even like liberty type stuff, I'd be very careful as far as pushing pure ideology. And I would kind of feel him where he's at, if that makes sense, meet them where they're at. And, Scott Horton always said, attack the left from the left, right from the right. I do agree with that to an extent. So I get that method. I guess that's a short answer. I could go into it for a much more lengthy tone, but I don't hide from the COVID tyranny stuff, the lockdowns, any of that. Don't hide from that. I certainly bring that up constantly. And if people disagree with on that, we're not going to agree. So it is what it is there. You can debate the nuance of some of that of, well, what about this and this? Fine. But if you straight up believe in masks and lockdowns and vax mandates, then we just disagree. So there's not going to be any headroom. Who will lengthen the roads? Very well done, Bert. Not me.
Please make a meme for that somehow.
Well, Mark, any parting words? It's been a minute and an hour and 17 minutes.
I have parting words, yes.
Yay,
well,
good.
Since this is live, my parting words are, well, look, if you're someone who's this far into a live stream, then I have to think you might be at least interested in checking out the Marc Clair Show. So I encourage you to do so. Again, marcclair.com, MarClair. There you will find links to all sorts of things, ways you can see the show publicly, ways you can pay me money if you so choose, like the great Jason Rink does, I should say, as well. And this, as far as my early supporters go, if my earlier supporters are any indication of the quality of my show, I feel like things are off to a great start.
Good.
Jason Rink, Tho Bishop on that
Whoa,
roster.
I better jump on there.
I'm not trying to pressure you or anything. I'm
yes,
just saying there's some all-stars involved here. So I feel really good about that. Some of the people that I respect their works are interested in my work before I even have it, really.
Yeah.
So that's pretty inspiring for me, and that makes me want to work even harder and put out an even better product for them. So you can check that stuff out, marcclair.com.
That's got all your links then, with Rockfin, everything.
Everything you need can be found there. So look, I'm casting a wide net. I'm putting my stuff everywhere. My show will be on YouTube until I'm banned. My show is going to be on BitChute, Rockfin. I want you to just be able to find it. So everywhere you like to listen and watch or whatever it is, you should be able to find me there until whatever platforms ban me, because I can't control that. But I can tell you Rockfin ain't going to ban me for anything. So that's one reason I really wanted to get on with them.
Magoo's asking a very good question. Very nice of you, Magoo. Who, by the way, is on our Wednesday night football stream with Tho Bishop, Matt Erickson, Mark Metz, Justin Campbell. It's all the guys, Magoo. Which one takes the least amount of money from you? What's the best way to support you?
I haven't done all the math. I don't have Subscribestar people yet. I have Patreon people. So I'm not even sure I want to send people to Subscribestar because I might even take it down if people seem to not like it. We'll see, because Rockfin works a little bit different.
Yeah.
I like the idea of Rockfin because I like the concept of their platform and how they run things. If you just want to support me directly, Patreon's probably better than that, or Subscribestar. But really, if you want to support, if you really want to know what's going to get me the best support, is to email me at markclairshow@gmail.com. I am willing to do annual subscriptions off platform via crypto, where I will make sure you get all the content and everything. So that's something I'm willing to do. You have to go out of your way. You got to find me. You got to talk to me, and I will set it up for you. I'm not going to post that publicly, but I'm willing to do annual crypto subscriptions that I will track and deliver content myself for people that want to do that, because that is the way I would get the most cut at the end of the day. But otherwise, my real thing is wherever you want. Like that, I want to make it easier for you. So don't worry about what's best for me as much as I appreciate it. Worry about what's easiest for you. I'm a big fan of Rockfin's mission and what they're doing and the content there. So for that reason, I like that. I'm not sure if I get the most cut there necessarily. If you join through me, I get more than if you are already on there. Okay. So if you're already on there and want to listen to me, I have no qualms if you just keep following my stuff on there, because they track views and all that stuff too. But it obviously does help me with them if you sign up through me. So if you're thinking about signing up for Rockfin anyway, definitely would encourage you to sign up through me by first joining through my channel. But honestly, if you want to support me however you want. That is kind of what I'm saying, because I don't really care about the percentages here and there. I want people to enjoy what I'm doing, find value in it. And yeah, I want to be able to do this more than not even part-time. I have a number of part-time jobs. Yeah. I want to make these at least start with make it something I can consider a part-time job. Then we'll see if I can do it full-time. But I'm being serious about this, and I'm going to try to give as much value as it's put towards me. So I guess I didn't even answer that question, but if we're just talking the math issue, it probably is Subscribestar, because I do think they take less a cut, but I'm not sure about that. Okay. So the best cut is where you pay me directly via crypto, which I'm willing to do only on an annual basis, because I don't want to deal with it figuring it out every month.
How was your chicken fried steak?
Fucking awesome.
All right, cool.
Oh my God, incredible.
What a Texas way to end this. Thank you guys. Counterflow Live, Buck Johnson, my friend, Marc Clair. Marc Clair Show. Or is it just markclair.com?
markclair.com.
There you go.
Put Marc Clair Show. Google that. You'll be good.
All right, boys, girls. Talk to y'all soon. See ya. No. How do I sign off?
You really don't know how to sign off.
Oh, I never. Oh, there it is.